I love the power glove. It's so bad.
Hey, what's poppin', y'all? We're back with a two-parter this time. Like, I just had so many clips that I had to separate them into two folders. And I figured that if I condensed it all here, that it turned to like a diamond. In like a non-sparkly kind of way, and more like a shaped under the pressure of the earth kind of way. But in any case, I think sticking to like a shorter format works better for my style. Because I'm not sure what your thoughts were on it, but I thought I'd uploaded something of like lesser quality last time after I went back to review it. So we're going to do a little better this time and just get on into it. We leveled up at the beginning with Golden Richie there, which becomes sort of a pattern throughout this episode since the XP is so good that it just kind of forces out levels, I think. And I can't really bring myself to make a self-rule of forbidding it, for now at least, for those subjectively boring levels. I think it scales up to level 110, so I see it as like a wormhole to skip past those hell levels straight into like a maxed out energy charge or maybe 4th job perhaps, which we'll be talking about more later on. I did want to try like an early Bigfoot to kind of test out if Drain can keep BFs pinned in corners like how they could in GMS, and I feel like a part of the player gets imprinted on that 2D character, model, and the way you've chosen to progress that character is kind of like writing its story in permanent ink. So I want a story I can look back on fondly, so just toying around with some unusual things we could do possibly to progress, depending on how our second big scrolling session goes, which will be the next one. I've been grinding this growth powder quest daily, and I was totally like caught off guard that you don't have to kill the mob specified in the quest text to get the items. Like for example, like an octopus, I know that drops the haystack even though it doesn't say that while the quest is active. So I'm guessing there's like a massive mob list for each item that gets randomly assigned to you upon accepting the quest. I couldn't find any massive compilation about it or guides, so that's maybe a job opportunity for any of you guide authors out there. So I've just been kind of writing which mobs I got on pen paper, and that's been saving more and more time each day as I add onto that list. And I'm still not aware of this at this point that you're seeing, and just been manually fast traveling to single out the mobs I saw from the quest info. Got the quest in Remember, and we go on to hunt those cold eyes for that seed, etc., along with the 33 cold steams from that quest we just got. I accidentally found the Balrog PQ entrance here, which was pretty nostalgic, and it got me pretty pumped to get even stronger so I can possibly trio it later. Took a trip to NLC to get those Boomer etc. items, and then after that we go CPQ one time with a friend just to wrap up that day's session. I had over leveled and missed CPQ 1, which kind of made me a little sad, thinking back on the good times I had there, but I also think that those days might be over for good, and it's time for me to move on. The map is just not popping off like it was in those old days where you have to type @ symbols to get your message to be seen. And it's also pretty hard finding enough players to 6v6 who are down to not trade wins and instead play like in a competitive way that would otherwise appear hostile, maybe like minimizing your opponent's CP points and trying to get your opponents killed. And that's why I love CPQ 1 so much, because I got so competitive with contests that have elements of fair play and honor, I feel like, and I can kind of still feel the adrenaline rush I got back then during those neck and neck matches. The rivalries we kind of formed with regular parties, despite me not remembering exactly what went down in those moments. But I did do some more CPQ later, and I actually think it's the fastest EXP option to get to 70 with the maxed out summons and trading wins format. But I also wasn't really feeling it, to be honest, since the trading win format wasn't nostalgic to me, and also because I'm not too familiar with CPQ 2 maps since that came out after CPQ 1. But yep, here we go, get 3 Scuffed Gadget ticket run afterwards, and we got blessed with this sweet level 10 Taru weapon and a female sauna robe that's probably going to get some overall in 30s dropped on it. Not too concerned about the gray tagged weapon since, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it re-rolls each time it gets upgraded to a higher level version, so it could roll blue for all I know. I typically associate Voodoos and Hoodoos as a must grind map for me around this level since I've pretty much done it on every character I've made ever, but I don't stay here too long, like less than half an hour, since the 11 stoppers I got in that time felt kind of bad for me, and I figured I'd revisit this if I grabbed the 1.2 times coupon or something. Spoiler, we never do. Next I go help a friend get those Nepenteth honeys, get a quick level up, and we walk our 2 honeys of our own after. So we're going to be hitting a pretty big questing portion coming up here, and I'll be talking ahead a lot here since this sequence is pretty self-explanatory, I think, kind of like the ones before it. I'll take this extra time to talk about something else, I think, but real quick, I went to go grab some of those APQ quests and quested a little bit in Orbis. We hunt Timer and other various area bosses for Olaf 3 with the boss story quest inactive. Hit some of EO's tower like the cleanup and pest removal quests. And as I go work my way down, I kind of just ad-lib my movements around everywhere, all the way from Omega, Nautilus, Aqua, Korean Folk down to Alinea, all just to do those quests. Made sure I got the 30 Elpin magnets while we were in Omega, since that's like a CWK PQ prereq, and we're gonna try doing that immediately at 135. I love that PQ. I'm also not ignoring those space foods like last time, because I remember the alien guy has a fetch quest asking for 400 foods later, so not making that mistake again. Checked in with some of the Aqua NPCs for late quest turn-ins, and on the way to Korean Folktown, hit that place up and knock out some of the Goblin quest chain, and also do those easy quick storybook turn-ins, and end off this questing by looking to clear a Faust for Olaf, which wasn't spawned at the time, so I decided to work my way through the quest chain instead. But ultimately we hit a dead end, since that Reef Ghost NPC guy, he only appears at certain times of the day, and we missed it by like 30 minutes. So I definitely think that I should have been OPQing here instead for the Goddess Wristband, the 3 weapon attack one for OPQ, since that's a guaranteed 13 attack glove. You know, you just have to buy 5 of those scrolls for the teamwork tokens. And I even just end up spamming OPQ 70 times later in part 2 when I'm in the 80s. But I actually get pretty decent at leading it again, kind of get my mojo back, but still I think it would have been a lot more efficient and faster had I done it sooner, rather than kind of questing aimlessly. Especially since I'm not getting quest specials anytime soon. I'm not even 20%, I don't think. But, you know, just want to take a moment here to talk about how much I kind of underappreciated the quality of life changes we have here. Just never really got to experience it, but I think a lot of it takes place in the PQs. Because what they've done here, I think it kind of empowers, you know, newer or less equipped players, what the devs have done. Because I was planning on having a Chaos and SCG as part of our next golden move to, you know, power up and get into Trio Balrog range. But I don't think I have to do that any longer. With that 13 attack glove, assuming I can craft a PGC in time, you know, with that ability to shift my focus elsewhere and resources. And, you know, that 13 attack glove, an eventual upgraded full, like lowered pirate's hat that's comparable to a Z helm, those PQ token upgrades, you know, I think all of those are great implementations, and I just want to call out some praise to where it's deserved, you know, for our devs here. But next we're gonna watch a friend who's probably my new bestie on this character scroll some stuff for their new dark. So we got our new bestie here, and it's honestly not surprising that we kind of gel, because it truly is a small world. Because I later found out she almost became leader of Canadians, which then later became Northern, my Ride or Die guild, and I had no idea she even existed beforehand. But it seems like I infected them with my scrolling virus, because they had to have boomed at least, you know, 8 top and bottoms total here, which is probably half my fault since I handed off around 30 or so top, you know, strengths to them. Like exactly the same with what went down with our dark in an almost uncanny way. Like we messed up the good equipment while getting passes on the below average ones like they did, and I think they also ended up booming a potential 35 dex helm to 70 later, a Zakum helmet. But you know, things are truly the same. They're gonna bounce back big time on some major item, is what I hope at least, like a sky ski. So yeah, afterwards we go HPQ for Olaf on another one of their characters. It's a simple PQ, just hit the plants until seeds fall out, and then drop the corresponding seed colors on the platforms until the flower kind of sprouts. And after that, protect the bunny until it pops out 10 rice cakes. So there's not much to it besides teamwork tokens. But I had played on a different server that had a very interesting mechanic, I thought. There was a 3 weapon attack, 3 all stat 0 slot ring that you could make by combining every PQ reward item in the maker skill, which I thought was kind of a neat implementation. Although I'm not sure if that particular ring has any place or business on this server, but I do see a potential to incentivize players to PQ even further on top of all those, you know, things we have here like teamwork tokens. And moving on, this segment here is almost entirely comprised of marriage preparations with the 4 proofs of love. Our friend here had popped a new monster galore, which was kind of perfect for us to take part in because that knocked out the rest of Olaf 3, along with the King Clank kill quest for us to turn in later. I usually stick to the Victoria Island love fairies, so we're gonna need 40 orange caps, 40 spiky caps, and 20 soft feathers, 40 fire wisps, which we have. I chose not to marry myself here because I think another APQ mule is honestly the last thing I need right now. It's just such a hassle doing 4 APQs on maybe 5 characters every day, and then even more so having to lead them on the low level mules. I mean, I'll be at 30 apples a day is pretty lucrative, and bottomless high attack pots is nice too. But I don't know how many years I got left on this game. It's just such a grind, and I'm getting tired. But yeah, just scrambling around, trying to grab those etc. items. And once we get to the soft feathers, I notice they're kind of dropping too slowly for me, so I accept an item donation from our soon-to-be, I guess, spouse, and get things rolling again there. I suppose the only notable thing here is I go do our character makeover before the wedding, and try to get glammed up a little bit. I was trying to go for the Dreamcatcher here, which starts eating at Meso after I, keep not getting it, but each attempt I get to kind of cycle through and get introduced to more female hairstyles. I don't play female characters too often, or much at all, so I actually ended up liking over half the hairstyles I saw. end up with this hair here, which is apparently called Super Diva. Isn't diva like a word to insult someone? I thought. Like, depending on the context, if someone called me a super diva in real life to my face, I'd probably get, pissed off. Anyways, pick out and get our NX outfit with APR currency, and we send out the invites so we commence the wedding. The important thing here is that you gotta wait out the full timer in the cake map after the ceremony for that marriage to actually go through and the heart to be, I guess, filled. That kind of scared me initially since I thought it had bugged and I was locked out of APQ or something, which you might be able to tell I was very concerned by the chat log. And on that note, I immediately smega to form up an APQ party. We're going to be APQing with our friend here once their marriage is completed, and that's going to be a big relief for me because I prefer to APQ with people I know as opposed to, taking the risk of randomly recruiting some inept, whiny dumb fuck that undermines party morale the entire time and also undermines my ability to lead effectively. They're definitely a minority population, but they're out there and they're around because I've met one already not long after this. But this moment here is important for me on this character because I pretty much have to lead for the foreseeable future, I think, since most parties wouldn't accept me, since that'd be my only meaningful contribution, which is to lead. Like, I still miss the Geist Balrog, I don't have SI to offer everyone yet. APQ can bring out the absolute worst qualities in people, like myself included, and players have strong recall here, especially when it's attached to a negative experience. APQ is well-remembered names and faces here. There's literally an entire APQ blacklist on the forums substantiated with pages of evidence. It's like a courtroom almost. So whenever I smega for APQ, I like to imagine myself as kind of building my own brand of leading, consistent, reliable APQs that players would then, hopefully associate with me if they're recognizing my name. Like, for instance, Jupy. They're a leader, they've led flawless APQs every time I've been with them, and their parties always fill up quick because a lot of people want a smooth APQ run, and that person can guarantee it. But I felt pretty rusty and haven't APQ'd since I created the Iron Man. But I always have 3 goals in mind here, is keeping the PQs under 10 minutes, including the bonus. I need to make sure I recruit a party comp that has SI, with also 3 classes at least that can reach zones 3 and 4, and the far right box in zone 1. And of course, ultimately I want my party to be satisfied with me enough at the end to want to rejoin my future APQs. So I've fucked up several things here, but we still did okay, I think. Like, I didn't recruit an SI, so that hurt our team in bonus stage. I feel really bad about that. I didn't direct that number stage well enough in my opinion. I usually do it, first try, no redos. Just was a little too slow overall, but I'm still improving each time as I'm getting slowly back on form, and it's been a while, so I can excuse it. And I also inside myself zone 1, so that kind of upper right box was just out of reach, hasted even, and climbing ate up a good chunk of my time, so I missed 2 boxes every time. I'm not sure if I misplayed that. Since I don't know how to reach it, I always have flash jump or telly is what I'm used to. And I just really wish they extended that bonus by 30 seconds or something. It would just all around reduce the stress levels here, I think. So 5 apple run, it was a dry run for me, but these are our first apples, so I'm very excited about that. And I know that tomorrow or the day after, can always yield us more apples, maybe a better run. But coming up next, we go and attempt to lead our first OPQ with this character. And on the topic of leading PQs, I like to think I've regressed and forgotten everything about OPQ based on the showing I did on the Iron Man, and I realized that mid-PQ here, I had no idea what I was doing, yet again. And I really hate leading when I know I'm doing a shit job at it. But, I ended up doing it still because I got put in the position and decided to give it a try anyways. But yeah, after this one, I'd vowed to not lead any more OPQs until I'd spend more time PQing as a member, while kind of analyzing some leaders I liked along the way to kind of copy their methods. So I'm able to lead about 10 minutes faster now compared to back then, but that'll be for the next part 2. I've always struggled with the sealed room puzzle even with the guide open in front of me, since I only recognized that the platforms were different, since the NPC notification says weight is correct on platform 1 for same, instead of explicitly saying same like it does in APQ, and I just got lost. I started copying this great trick from another leader in the Celion storage room, and I think it's great because I think this is the area where parties have the greatest influence on the speed of their run. So the Celions always appear in a predetermined order, which I'm going to kind of show on the screen here, and I just kind of call out the entire list while adjusting the first number after each EXP notification I see. And doing this is a lot faster than having each member camp out sections of 4 like what I used to advise. And a very important note about a known bug here is, according to our head developer, the Celions are triggered by an invisible item drop. So by killing it too close to the platform's edge, that invisible item's gonna fall off and therefore won't trigger the next spawn, leading to like a failed run. And yeah, the etceteras and walkway are super tiny and easy to miss, so I'm usually wary about that, but we had no issues. The climbing up stage also has slight influence on the run speed, I think, depending on how lucky or unlucky your party gets with the combo. Once we have enough hitters up top, I go down bottom to just spam click. Not much strategy there, but it's pretty fast. I referenced the guide on where to put the statue pieces, and that gets us into the final stage boss, which is just dropping these strange seeds from these Nepenthes onto the planters. The one planter that spawns nothing at first is the one that will take the stranger seed, so I've learned to start taking note of that. Killing the Dark Nepenthe triggers the boss summon, and Papa Pixie also kind of suffers from the same fate as Alishar from LPQ, I think. They were both tough old school bosses that no longer are here because of just how much stronger the average players have become, I think. And some card hunters here can turn into like ninjas when there's a boss card drop. So quick fingers definitely help if you're looking to complete the set. So it's gotten to the point that I don't even try to get this card anymore, even if it's free and up for the taking. I just usually pass it up to somebody who would care more than I do, because I truly don't care that much. I have other options for cards. But once we get done here with this PQ, that'll be all the PQing we got for part 1. And there will be a whole lot more to come in part 2. Whole lot more. But we go on to do something more time-consuming and kind of inefficient, which is another batch of quests. I just guess I was really in the mood to quest in this particular moment. I'm gonna talk way ahead again because there are other topics I want to get into before we end off here. So okay, we start out in Korean Folktown in Ding 61. I'm pretty much out of NX to buy an APRs now, and I'm absolutely not gonna spend a single meso on APRs for like an identical end result. That'll just take a little more time. I'll take the long road. And I'm weighing in favor of saving up a 105 gas ticket run somewhere over, getting the APRs right now currently, and, just hoarding the amount of washes I have in AP points while dumping the rest I have extra into strength until I, find a better solution, because I really don't want to do the same thing on the Airman, like hunting area bosses to that extreme extent. Just bad etiquette, I can't do it. So when I skilled up this MP recovery, third job skill, it kind of intrigued me when I started actually using it, since it's got a pretty short cooldown and it'll recover like 500 MP, which is a pretty big amount for me. Although I do have to wonder later on if it's worth the risk of killing myself accidentally at higher HPs over just using power elixirs regularly. So I just have to wonder about it. I'll play around with it some more. Here are these Hadori mobs. I am questing super efficiently because there's another quest in the next map. That's the time kill quest, and I totally forgot about it until I saw that NPC. So could have knocked out all 3 at once. That's my bad there. But yeah, we went to the Aqua to collect Sika oils and DNA samples, and then we have a whole stack of turn-ins and we get those in. And in the event, we get our 30th Moonflower here and earn that Sunshine cosmetic ring. So kind of dig the look of it. I really like it. Everything in this Easter event's kind of very aesthetic and pleasing to look at. I like it. So yeah, we travel a lot throughout the kind of world to finish that Maple History book quest. Get that Medicine with Weird Vibes for the Jane's first challenge quest, and bought 100 of those Quay speed pots in Malaysia that I had learned about from playing on the Iron Man. And we're just getting all sorts of low-level etceteras for quests that I'm not sure why I'm even doing in the first place, since Quest Specialist is probably not even happening anymore, I don't think. It just isn't gonna happen. But yeah, we go to Lith Harbor for the turn-ins, move on to Olaf 3, not 2, Olaf 3. Then we go hunt zombie and regular mushrooms while doing some of those quests, and pockets of NX while doing that. Anyways, I tried to go PPQ at the end at level 62, but it turns out it's actually level 70 to 100 here. I thought I was going crazy because I swear it was level 55 to 100 in GMS. I swear, and that's what it is on Hidden Street too, I think. So I'm super annoyed at that, and I go use that energy to fuel my next scheme, which is, yep, that's right, Lower Ascent Windraider grind. And we're gonna go so hard there, because Lower Ascent was such a legendary nostalgic map to me that I'd probably spent hundreds of hours grinding, I bet. Like, I remember when Nexon used to roll back the game.
It's rollback time here at
Nexon.
Thousands of rollbacks throughout the whole
game.
And I should know that because I'm Mr. Rollback. What's my superpower? That's rolling back.
Legit players.
The rollback
Players.
These are rollbacks waiting to be rollbacks. That's how many rollbacks we have. We're cutting
Levels.
over, which cuts
Happiness.
over, which means thousands
Will quit.
like this one right here.
Piss off.
I'm Darrell, and they call me Mr. Rollback. And I
Take people's money so they can grind more.
Half a week every time people found out about game-breaking exploits, such as duping items or they're abusing other really bad game bugs. And next one always compensated us with the ×4 4-hour EXP event to kind of make things even in their book, even though it wasn't. But anyways, I use my lunch money to save up, you know, that $25 NX card to buy from the local 7-Eleven, skip out on lunch until I could afford it to buy that cash shop 2 times EXP card, and then spend it to grind at Windraiders for 4 hours on ×8. Those are good times. Those are really genuinely good times. But I see that there are still fans who hold faith in Nexon, but I do genuinely feel a sense of betrayal from them. To this day, you know, even. Like, the Nexon I know does not give a flying you-know-what about their players. They were always very liberal with their rollbacks, and they knew it hurt their players, and they didn't care, they just did it. They didn't care. I never felt it as a permanent solution to any of their problems, but it never mattered to them, I think, because it was such a popular game, right? Every person that quit, you know, one person quits, many, many more take their place. And that is just my jaded outlook on it all. I just have so much anti-Nexon prejudice in me. I don't know if I can even undo it. I'm just obstinate and just like obsolete now. Like, I never want to touch another one of their games, but yeah, even the upcoming Maple Worlds game they have coming out, I don't want nothing to do with Nexon. But if it were still Wizette in charge to this day, my tone right now would be the reverse opposite of what it is. Believe me, I love Wizette. I love him. But yeah, very nostalgic grinds, and I still look back on them pretty fondly to this day still, despite how I feel about Nexon. So I was feeling pretty excited about what was to come, and this brawler to relive that second job grind up to 70, like how I was doing back in the day. Pros are, I think, EXP was real nice, good map spawnage, nice flat platforms to kind of attack on. We started on at least 0.2% per kill, and if I stay here long enough, I could probably save enough Prison Woods to roll on an Arc Lancer or something later on. Cons are, it's a pretty large map, but the warp points are useful. The mobs hit kind of hard, and I'm glad I have the extra HP. I was thinking about that here. But the map rotation gets very repetitive after a while, and if you fall off, you can lose grinding efficiency if you fall off enough times. But our EXP eventually tapers off with the levels as they come, so I go take a break with the planet grind in the second half with Holy Symbol. I was feeling pretty ready to advance since I've never played 3rd Job Pirate and beyond. Just ready to pick my 3rd Job build because I found several on the internet. Found a Max Stun Mastery, Shockwave, Energy Charge Blast first build, but ultimately I'm probably going to be maxing Shockwave first because I wanted that active skill that I could press, and that 40 points in Energy Charge would take too long to get points into, and the charging speed was so slow for me at rank 9. Like, the meter never even popped up, and I thought it was bugged. Everything turns into a bug when I get confused. But that power stance effect upon full charge looks fresh. My only question is that a 90% stance triggering? It probably goes up with more levels, I'm thinking. But getting back on topic here, we're just grabbing levels here and there that come really fast. We got back on form in APQ. Didn't forget the SI this time, made sure I recruited extra coverage for bonus days to anticipate on mages that refuse to do 3/4, just guaranteeing that everyone walks out happy. And I go run some XPM tests at another legendary and kind of nostalgic map, which is MP3. Very good EXP, but I honestly would have grinded here too, in my 50s, had I remembered, like with the Windraiders. Like, another nostalgic grinding option I forgot about was Truckers, and I think that's the main drawback of Golden Richie for me. I just leveled too fast and missed some memorable old school maps I would have liked to grind. And at this point I've completely run out of NX to buy APRs, so I'm going to be watching very, very slowly from here on out. But heck, I'll easily be surviving HT at this point, and Alpha is still light years away, so I'm not thinking on it too much. I'll just be matching my fresh AP points with the number of watches I have remaining, and I think that'll be sufficient. But here I decided on CPQ as my means to leveling to 70. The EXP here exceeded even Windraiders with that 10 minutes grinding, the maxed out Spirit Viking summons, even more if it's like our turn to win. So I appled the first run to test out the XPM one-shotting everything, and I actually think it's kind of worth it with the maxed out summons. You know, apples are cheap and no shortage of them. But something that kind of surprised me here is that there's a player who got upset at my mage on the team for AFKing. He just overall seemed unhappy with him, and I had to hand it to that mage for kind of handling it like a pro. They took it well. Like, he had the ability to hear that criticism, turn off being his character for a second, saw there was some validity in the criticism, and then, you know, try to use his intelligence, had that kick in. And he was like, oh, I'm A because it's not my turn to win, I don't get EXP from the level gap, I maxed out spawns for you, etc. And that's all it took, because we all left on friendly terms in the end. But for me, I don't know if I could say the same, because I've gotten pissed from the kick him disrespect, but, you know, this guy stayed it cool. And my last regret on this character was that I wish I'd farmed more shiny coins to attempt godly rolls on the level 30 Spiegelman necklace. but we're going to close out part 1 here soon with the 3rd job advancement. It was a smooth job advancement procedure, so not much to speak on here. Just made sure I had a couple TP rocks on hand for traveling between Nath and Nautilus. The Chiron clone was pretty cool, I thought, and it was just different from those usual Toro Macy summons. We had a very easy quiz this time around with the stone, but once we job advance, I continue to play. So just to offer up a little insight for what's to come, we're going to be spamming PPQs, OPQs, possibly reaching triple digits, having our 2nd major Skull session, testing out the bubble skill at Bigfoot. Maybe we'll try an ultra early Pap or something on apples. So I'll be looking forward to doing those things, and hopefully you'll find some of those things to be cool too. I hope you liked the video, and just want to say thanks again for watching. I appreciate you. See you next time.
What is going on here?